Hi there, trivia fans, and welcome back to Quarantine Trivia. My name's Sean, I'll be your host again today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and a big thank you for joining us if it's your first time. So, this week the format's going to change a little bit if you've tuned in for previous weeks. So instead of 12 rounds, we're dropping it down to 10 rounds, just to try and make things go a little bit quicker and, to be honest, make it a little bit easier for me writing it. I've dropped the forms for submitting your answers after the end of each round. No one seemed to be doing it, so at the end, instead, I'm just going to pop a wee form into the chat, and you can just submit your final scores there if you want to, just so we can maybe do a leaderboard and see how people are doing against each other. Okay, if you want to do that, do that. If you don't, it's not a problem at all. And if people don't like it, we'll try something else again going forward. So for doing the quiz, just play along at home, either on your own or against anyone else who's there with you. Just play on pen or paper. Please don't put any answers into the comment section as we go, because that might spoil it for other people. We don't mind a bit of banter or whatever in there otherwise, though. So have a wee look as well. The other rule as well, basically because there's no point, please don't cheat. You're not, there's not anything up for grabs, so it's just there, as they said at school, you're just cheating yourself. Okay, so my little spiel before we get started. So again, this is a free quiz. It's all been provided free of charge by myself, but if you do find that you've got maybe a couple of quid, a couple of dollars to spare in your pocket due to not travelling due to lockdown, not going to the pub, not being able to find toilet paper to buy, please consider a small donation to charity. I personally try and raise money for the Al-Khal Foundation here in Phnom Penh. It's the only free primary school in Phnom Penh. Everything is provided for the children free of charge who otherwise maybe wouldn't be able to attend school at all, because generally schools here are fee-paying schools. Okay, so if you wanted to donate to that, it would be much appreciated. Otherwise, if you're able to donate to anything, maybe a local food bank or a local charity that's struggling at the moment, feel free to do so. If not, it's not a problem. As I say, we're just here for some fun. Okay, so let's get on with the trivia. So first round this week, as usual, is general knowledge. So let's get right on with question number one. Simple one, hopefully, to start with. How many squares are there on a chessboard? Okay, how many squares are there on a chessboard? Okay, we're just talking little individual ones here. It's not one of these how many squares can you count total, where 4 squares make up another square. It's just how many individual little squares are there. Okay, question number 2. Which day of the week were Greta Thunberg's climate strikes on? Okay, so which day of the week were Greta Thunberg's climate strikes on? Obviously not having so many of those at the moment because everybody's at home. Not have anything to strike from. Okay, question number 3. Spectre was the 7th James Bond film with a one-word title. Name as many, or what are the other 6? Name as many of them as you can. You'll get 1 point for each, so there's a total of 6 points for this one. So again, Spectre was the 7th James Bond film with a one-word title. What are the other 6? I'll give you a few seconds to think about this one. Okay, well, we'll come back and have a look over the questions again, but we'll move on at the moment. So, question number 4. Which African head of state used to play for AC Milan? Obviously AC Milan Football Club there. So, in which African head of state, and this is a current head of state, used to play for AC Milan? Okay, question number 5. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a chain of events which led to what? Okay, so the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a chain of events which led to what? Okay, question number 6. Okay, so the last episode of which TV show, shown in 1983, was watched by over 100 million people, making it the highest rated single TV episode in history? So we're looking for the name of the show. So again, the last episode of which TV show, shown in 1983, was watched by over 100 million people, making it the highest rated single TV episode in history? Okay, a quick recap of those. Question number 1, how many squares are there on a chessboard? Question number 2, which day of the week were Greta Thunberg's climate strikes on? Question number 3, Spectre was the 7th James Bond film with a one-word title. What are the other 6? 1 point for each. Okay. Which African head of state used to play for AC Milan? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a chain of events which led to what? Okay, and the last episode of which TV show, shown in 1983, was watched by over 100 million people, making it the highest rated single TV episode in history? Okay, so I hope you've got all your answers down. We're going to go on and go over the answers for the round now, so get ready to mark. So there is a total of 11 points available for this round. So, just pop all the answers up on screen here. So number 1, there are 64 squares on the chessboard. Number 2, Greta Thunberg's strikes were on Fridays. Number 3, the other movies are Moonraker, Octopussy, Goldfinger, Thunderball, GoldenEye and Skyfall. So 1 point for each of those that you got. Number 4 is George Weah, the president of Liberia. Question number 5, the answer is World War I. So obviously quite an important event there that led to that. And question number 6, the TV show was MASH. MASH. Okay, so tot up your scores, keep a note of them, and we'll get all the scores tallied up at the end so we can see how you're doing. So, round number 2. This round is called No PPE Shortage Here. So obviously a lot of places are suffering from PPE shortages due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but all the answers here have PPE. So basically they all have the letters PPE in them. So hopefully that's nice and clear, maybe. So we'll see how it goes anyway. Question number 1. What character does Gwyneth Paltrow play in the Iron Man movies? Okay, so what character does Gwyneth Paltrow play in the Iron Man movies? Okay, question number 2. This very famous mural from the late 1400s by Leonardo da Vinci can be found in Milan. Okay, so this very famous mural from the late 1400s by Leonardo da Vinci can be found in Milan. As I say, if you need an extra clue, it has the letters PPE in them. Okay, question number 3. This is a type of penguin with red eyes and yellow and black spiky feathers on their head. Okay, so this is a type of penguin with red eyes and yellow and black spiky feathers on their head. So again, just let's say think of any type of penguins that you know, think of any that have got the letters PPE in them, and that's a pretty good guess even if you're not too familiar with penguins. Question number 4. This is the name for a cold smoked herring, often eaten for breakfast in places like the UK. Okay, so again, this is the name for a cold smoked herring, often eaten for breakfast in places like the UK. Well, I must say, I never had it for breakfast myself. Question number 5. This is the common term for an injury to the cushioning and connective tissue between vertebrae. Okay, so this is the common term for an injury to the cushioning and connective tissue between vertebrae. And question number 6, last one in the round. Again, these have all got PPE in the answer. This is a 1960s TV show about a bottlenose dolphin. Okay, so it's a 1960s TV show about a bottlenose dolphin. Quick recap of those. Number 1, what character does Gwyneth Paltrow play in the Iron Man movies? Question 2, this very famous mural from the late 1400s by Leonardo da Vinci can be found in Milan. Question number 3, this is a type of penguin with red eyes and yellow and black spiky feathers on their head. Question number 4, this is the name for a cold smoked herring, often eaten for breakfast in places like the UK. Question number 5, this is the common term for an injury to the cushioning and connective tissue between vertebrae. And question number 6, this is a 1960s TV show about a bottlenose dolphin. Okay, so we all got our answers down. Yep, so let's go on with the answers then, get these marked. So the answers are, number 1, Gwyneth Paltrow plays Pepper Potts. The famous mural is The Last Supper. The penguin is a rock hopper penguin. The cold smoked herring is a kipper. The injury to the vertebrae is the slipped disc. And the bottlenose dolphin TV show is Flipper. Flipper. Okay, so that one out of 6 there for that round. Tally up your scores. And we're moving on to round number 3. Apologies for the language here. It's a nice quote from a favourite movie of mine, The Martian. We're going to science the out of this. Okay, so this is our science round. Question number 1. A temperature reading of minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is known as what? Okay, so temperature reading of minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is known as what? Question number 2. 4 chemical elements begin with the letter I. Name as many as you can. Again, 1 point for each of these, so 4 points up for grabs. 4 chemical elements begin with the letter I. Name as many as you can. Give you a few seconds on this one. Bit of thinking time. Okay, moving on. Question number 3. In computing, what does the acronym BIOS stand for? Okay, so in computing, what does the acronym BIOS stand for? B-I-O-S. Okay, question number 4. In which European capital city is contained in the common name for calcium sulfate hemihydrate? Okay, so it sounds quite complicated, but it's a bit easier than you might think if you well, a bit of thinking about it. So again, which European capital city is contained in the common name for calcium sulfate hemihydrate? Question number 5. The adult human body is made up of how many bones? Again, with this one, I'll give you a point if you're within 5 either side. So again, the adult human body is made up of how many bones? Okay, so if you're within 5 either side, you get the point. So you've got a window of sort of 10 there. Okay, question number 6. Dry ice is a frozen form of which gas? Okay, so dry ice is a frozen form of which gas? Okay, so quick recap. Temperature reading of minus 459.67 Fahrenheit or minus 273.15 Celsius is better known as what? 4 chemical elements begin with the letter I. Name as many as you can. Question number 3. In computing, what does the acronym BIOS stand for? BIOS. Question number 4. Which European capital city is contained in the common name for calcium sulfate hemihydrate? Question number 5. The adult human body is made up of how many bones? So again, if you get within 5 either side, you get the point. And question number 6. Dry ice is a frozen form of which gas? Okay, so got all your answers down, and we will go over our answers. So let's get ready and let's go. Number 1 is it's absolute zero is the common term. I will also accept 0 degrees Kelvin, but what we were really looking for there was absolute zero. It's as low a temperature as you can go. Number 2, the elements beginning with I are indium, iodine, iridium, and iron. Okay, so get a point for each of those that you got. Question number 3 is basic input-output system. Okay, basic input-output system. Question number 4, it is Paris. Okay, so the chemical is more commonly known as plaster of Paris. Number 5, there is 206 bones in the adult human body, so we'll accept from 201 to 211. There's actually more bones in a child's body because not all the bones are fused together at the point when they're born. And question number 6, the dry ice is the frozen form of carbon dioxide. Okay. So possible 9 points available in that round. Okay, so moving on to round number 4. This is called Change Your Perspective. So this is our first picture round. I'm going to show you pictures of quite famous places. And they're just being photographed from a different angle from what you normally see it. So all I want is the name of the location. Location that we're looking at. Okay, number 1. Where is this? Okay, so what we're looking for is that big building in the background there. So what is that? Okay, number 2. Where is this? Okay, number 3. Where is this? Number 4. Where's this? Number 5. Okay, so again, what we're looking for here is the bit in the sort of lower half, just in this and the sort of bottom left quarter. And question number 5. Again, it's the big building in the background that we're looking for here. Okay, so a quick recap. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. And number 6. Okay, so you've all got your answers down, because we're going to go over them now. So here we go. Number 1 was the Hagia Sophia, the big mosque in Istanbul. Number 2 is Mount Rushmore in South Dakota in the US. Number 3 was the Kremlin in Moscow. Number 4 was Machu Picchu in Peru. Number 5 was the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. And number 6 was the Taj Mahal. It is in Agra in India. Okay, so again, tally up your scores, keep a note, and we're moving on to round number 5. So round number 5 is called On This Day. It's April 26th. So all the questions are tied to events that have happened on April 26th in history. If you're watching it back at a later date, it's not going to make quite so fitting, I guess. But the questions will still be relevant and should still be able to work them out. So, question number 1. Here we go. On this day in 1865, John Wilkes Booth was killed. Who was he famous for assassinating? Okay, so on this day in 1865, John Wilkes Booth was killed. Who was he famous for assassinating? Question number 2. On this day in 1936, Nazi Germany's official secret police were formed. What were they more commonly known as? I've missed an apostrophe there in Germany's. So on this day in 1936, Nazi Germany's official secret police were formed. What were they more commonly known as? Question number 3. On this day in 1964, Tanganyika and Zanzibar merged to form which country? Who would have thought out of that question merged would be the word I would have difficulty with? So again, on this day in 1964, Tanganyika and Zanzibar merged to form which country? Question number 4. Slightly longer one here. On this day in 1986, the meltdown at Reactor 4 in the Chernobyl power plant caused the world's largest nuclear disaster. In which year did Chernobyl finally stop production of electricity? So it kept going on after the nuclear power plant, the nuclear disaster in 1986. So Chernobyl power plant disaster in 1986 did not stop production. In which year did Chernobyl finally stop production of electricity? Question number 5. This actor was born on this day in 1980. He has appeared in films such as Magic Mike, 21 Jump Street and White House Down. Who is he? Okay, so again, this actor was born on this day in 1980. He has appeared in films such as Magic Mike, 21 Jump Street and White House Down. Who is he? And question number 6. Born on this day in 1970, she is a Slovenian former fashion model who moved to New York in 1996. She is now active in politics and has championed anti-bullying initiatives, amongst other things. Who is she? Again, another slightly longer one there. So, born on this day in 1970, she is a Slovenian former fashion model who moved to New York in 1996. She is now active in politics and has championed anti-bullying initiatives, amongst other things. Who is she? Again, quick recap. On this day in 1865, John Wilkes Booth was killed. Who was he famous for assassinating? Question number 2. On this day in 1936, Nazi Germany's official secret police were formed. What were they more commonly known as? Question number 3. On this day in 1964, Tanganyika and Zanzibar merged to form which country? Question number 4. On this day in 1986, the meltdown at Reactor 4 in the Chernobyl power plant caused the world's largest nuclear disaster. In which year did Chernobyl finally stop production of electricity? Question number 5. This actor was born on this day in 1980. He has appeared in films such as Magic Mike, 21 Jump Street and White House Down. Who is he? And question number 6. Born on this day in 1970. She is a Slovenian former fashion model who moved to New York in 1996. She is now active in politics and has championed anti-bullying initiatives, amongst other things. Who is she? Take a breath. Okay, so time to go over the answers. Okay, so I hope you're all ready. Number 1 was Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. The German official secret police under the Nazi regime were called the Gestapo. Number 3 was Tanzania was formed by Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Kind of makes sense if you Tanganyika, Zanzibar, Tanzania. Number 4, Chernobyl kept producing electricity up until the year 2000. Okay, so 14 years after the meltdown, they were still producing electricity. Bit weird to think of that. Question number 5, the actor was Channing Tatum. And number 6, the former Slovenian model was Melania Trump. Yeah. Say she's championed anti-bullying initiatives. She might want to start looking at home for some of that. Okay, moving on. Round number 6 is called Gandalf or Gandhi. So this is a very simple round. I'm going to give you a quote for each question, and I just want you to tell me if that quote is from Gandalf from Lord of the Rings or Mahatma Gandhi, famed Indian politician. Okay, so question number 1. Who said, "All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us"? Okay, so again, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Number 2. Quote is, "Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment." So slightly longer one there. So many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Question number 3. So who said this? "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Question number 4. So who said this? "He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom." So again, he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Question number 5. "The weak can never forgive, Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. So again, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. And number 6, service which is rendered without joy helps neither the servant nor the served. Again, service which is rendered without joy helps neither the servant nor the served. Who said that? So again, these are all Gandalf or Gandhi, which is which. So quick recap. Question number 1, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Question number 2, many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Number 3 is, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Number 4, he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Number 5, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. And number 6, service which is rendered without joy helps neither the servant nor the served. Okay, so I hope you've got all those. Worst comes to the worst, you've got 50-50 on each of them. So the answers then. Number 1 was Gandalf. Number 2 was Gandalf. Number 3 was Gandhi. Number 4 was Gandalf again. And 5 and 6 were both Gandhi. There we go. Next, moving on to the next round then is number 7, the man in the surgical mask again. So have this for the last couple of weeks now. This is our second picture round. So all we want you to do is name the person behind the surgical mask. So picture number 1, who's this? Hopefully quite an easy one for you there. Number 2, who's this? Okay, number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Okay, and number 6. Okay, so I'll give you a quick recap of those again. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Okay. And number 6. Okay, so I hope you've got your answers down because we're going to go over them now. Okay, so number 1 was of course Albert Einstein. Number 2 was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. If you just put "The Rock," that's fine. Question number 3 was Brad Pitt. Number 4 was German leader Angela Merkel. Number 5 was movie director Steven Spielberg. And number 6 was Marilyn Monroe. Okay, you can tally up your scores. Round number 8 is the final frontier. So this is a space round, all about space, the final frontier. Question number 1. How many times does the International Space Station see the sunrise each day? Is it A, 16, B, 20, or C, 24? Okay, so obviously the International Space Station is orbiting the planet, so it's going at a different speed, so it sees the sunrise more than once each day like we see it. So how many times does the International Space Station see the sun rise each day? Or each 24-hour period, I guess. So is it 16, 20 or 24? Okay, question number 2. What was the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into outer space? Okay, what was the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into outer space? Question number 3. This might be a bit more of a difficult one. But Mars has 2 moons. Can you name them? That's 1 point for each. Again, Mars has 2 moons. Can you name them? And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a clue on this one. It may help, it may not. If you've ever played Doom, the computer game, you might be able to get some help from there. Okay, question number 4. Which scientist was charged with heresy in 1633 for his view that the Earth orbits the Sun? Obviously before that, quite a lot of people believed that the Sun went round the Earth, that the Earth was the centre of the universe. So again, which scientist was charged with heresy in 1633 for his view that the Earth orbits the Sun? Question number 5. Which planet in the night sky is brightest as seen from Earth? Okay, so which planet in the night sky is brightest as seen from Earth? You got a 1 in 8 chance of getting this. Or 1 in 7 these days. So obviously Pluto isn't a planet anymore. And question number 6. Which word beginning with C is the outermost part of the Sun's atmosphere and is only visible with the naked eye during a solar eclipse? So again, which C is the outermost part of the Sun's atmosphere and is only visible with the naked eye during a solar eclipse? Okay, quick recap. How many times does the International Space Station see the sunrise each day? Is it 16, 20 or 24? Question 2. What is the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into outer space? Question number 3. Mars has 2 moons. Name them. 1 point for each. Question number 4. Which scientist was charged with heresy in 1633 for his view that the Earth orbits the Sun? Question number 5. Which planet is in the night sky is brightest as seen from Earth? And question number 6. Which C, or which word beginning with the letter C, is the outermost part of the Sun's atmosphere and is only visible with the naked eye during a solar eclipse? Okay, so I hope you've got all those. Let's go over the answers. So, number 1, the answer to that was 16, or A, 16. How many times the ISS sees the sunrise? Number 2, Yuri Gagarin's ship was called the Vostok. The Vostok. Not too worried on spelling with that or on the next couple. Number 3, the 2 moons of Mars are called Phobos and Deimos, which I believe is where a lot of most of the action happened in the game Doom, at least the original one. Number 4, the scientist charged with heresy was Galileo, or Galileo Galilei. If you just got Galileo though, you've got the point. Question number 5, the planet that is brightest in the night sky seen from Earth is Venus. Okay, and number 6, you can't get away from it. The outermost part of the Sun's atmosphere is the corona. Corona. Okay, so 7 points up for grabs in that round. And moving on to our last couple of rounds now. These are our music rounds. Number 9 is music trivia. So, question number 1. On the famous Abbey Road album cover by the Beatles, which Beatle doesn't have any shoes on? Okay, so again, on the famous Abbey Road album cover by the Beatles, which Beatle doesn't have any shoes on? If you're not sure, take a guess. You've got a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Question number 2. In 1975, a band whose name is a palindrome, so that means it's the same backwards and forwards, had an appealing #1 single whose name is also a palindrome. Name the band and the single. So 2 points up for grabs here. So again, in 1975, a band whose name is a palindrome had an appealing #1 single whose name is also a palindrome. Name the band and the single. Give a second to think on that one. Okay, question number 3. What do these songs have in common? So, Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, Psycho Killer by Talking Heads, Lady Marmalade by LaBelle, and Denis, or Dennis, by Blondie. So again, what do these songs have in common? Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, Psycho Killer by Talking Heads, Lady Marmalade by LaBelle, and Denis by Blondie. They all have something particular in common. Question number 4. Michael Stipe is the lead singer of which band? Question number 5. Which famous rock group had a lineup whose members' first names are Roger, Pete, Keith, and John? Okay, so which famous rock group had a lineup whose members' first names are Roger, Pete, Keith, and John? And question number 6, last one in the trivia. Which song has been recorded by each of the following? The Drifters, Bette Midler, the Rolling Stones, and Bruce Willis. Again, we're looking for the name of one song that's been recorded by each of these artists. So that's the Drifters, Bette Midler, the Rolling Stones, and Bruce Willis. Okay, so recap of those. On the famous Abbey Road album cover by the Beatles, which Beatle doesn't have any shoes on? Number 2, in 1975, a band whose name is a palindrome had an appealing #1 single whose name is also a palindrome. Name the band and the single. 1 point for each. Question number 3. What do these songs have in common? Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, Psycho Killer by Talking Heads, Lady Marmalade by LaBelle, and Denis by Blondie. Question number 4. Michael Stipe is the lead singer of which band? Question number 5. Which famous rock group had a lineup whose members' first names are Roger, Pete, Keith, and John? And which song has been recorded by each of the following? The Drifters, Bette Midler, the Rolling Stones, and Bruce Willis. Okay, so have you got your answers down? Let's go through them. So number 1 was Paul McCartney was not wearing any shoes, which supposedly fueled conspiracy theories that McCartney was dead and had been replaced. Can't say I believe that, but you know, internet. Question number 2. The artist was ABBA and the single was SOS. Okay, so 1 point for each of those. They're both obviously palindromes, both the same backwards. Question number 3. The link between those songs is that parts of the song are all sung in French in each song. Number 4. Michael Stipe is the lead singer of R.E.M. Number 5. The group with that lineup is The Who. And question number 6. The song was Under the Boardwalk. Okay, so tot up your scores, and then we're going to go on to round number 10. Round number 10 is our music intros. So for these, you'll hear 20-25 seconds of the introduction of a song, and all I want you to do is to write down the name of the song and the name of the artist. So they're worth a half point each. So name of the song, name of the artist. The only other thing is you will notice that these have been slightly slowed down. This is just to try and get around copyright notices on Facebook and YouTube. So we'll get started on these. Here we go. So I'm recording this after the show was originally recorded. Okay, so YouTube flagged the audio on this one, so instead of hearing the actual audio clip, here's me giving you the intro lyrics. So here we go. An old man, turned 98, won the lottery, died the next day. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. It's a death row pardon, 2 minutes too late.
That bitch, even when I'm crying crazy, yeah, I got boy problems, that's the human in me. Bling bling, then I solve them, that's the goddess in me. You could've had a bad bitch, not committal.
Bring it. What? On your mark, ready, set, let's go.
Okay, so that was the music intros. So we'll move on to the answers then. I hope you've got all those down. So as I say, we wanted the name of the artist and the name of the song. It will get you half a point each. Okay, so number one was Ironic by Alanis Morissette. The most ironic thing in the song being that none of the things she actually mentions are ironic. Number two was Relaxed by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Number three is a bit more recent. This was Truth Hurts by Lizzo. Number four is Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith. Number five was The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. And number six was Walk of Life by Dire Straits. Okay, so tally up your scores, get them all so you can figure out your final score. As I say, I'll put a form into the chat here so you can submit your scores so we can see how you do against everyone else. Even if you're watching back at a later point, feel free to put your scores in and we'll update them as and when. So that's the end of the quiz. Thank you very much for taking part. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to send suggestions for future rounds, or if there's any changes you want to see, you can email us at quarantinetrivia@seanholroyd.com. The email address and our website and YouTube channels and everything will be in the video details. Just realised as well, I forgot to mention as well, the charity that I raised the money for, the Alcal Foundation at school, that is what the URL up at the top left corner of the screen was during the quiz. So kidsneededucation.org, you can see it there. If you do want to make a donation to the charity, you can do it via PayPal at that link. But other than that, we're all done. So thank you very much for taking part, and remember to stay safe and keep washing your hands. Thank you very much.